filmmaker Cornelia Principe, the filmmaker behind the Motherload, which is airing on the CBC in just a few days. Tell me a little bit about your experience as a mother and how that inspired the making of this film.
Yeah, actually, I got sort of the idea for the film sort of evolved partly from my experience. I had a child when I was 42, which is, quite late, as they say, and I started sort of being quite conscious of how my life changed after having a child, and also looking around me and, women that I knew and experiences that were similar, and how we were quite surprised that becoming a mother somehow had an impact on one's career and an impact on your sense of identity and who you were, and the expectations on you as a mother were quite surprising. Mm-hmm. So what happened was I started talking to the CBC about this documentary about women who were actually delaying childbirth initially. And one thing led to another, discussions around what was going on in the news and the media. And Anne-Marie Slaughter came out with a big article called Why Women Still Can't Have It All. And that sort of cemented the idea that it's really about sort of the new motherhood, what things are facing working mothers today. And that's sort of how the story evolved, partly my own personal experience and also what was sort of happening in the zeitgeist in a way.
Absolutely. And can you tell me a little bit about the issue in terms of a human rights issue as well as a women's issue, but what society can do and how different people can help to make this better, perhaps?
Yeah. I thought it was really important to focus it not just as a women's issue, but as a family issue, human rights issue, because the same factors that are affecting working mothers are also affecting fathers. It's not just about women. It just so happens that women are sort of caught now because the expectations on motherhood are quite high, and higher than they've ever been, frankly. And we're also working more than we've ever worked. What's happening now is fathers now start to become more involved fathers at home. They're starting to feel the mother load, ironically. They're starting to feel that the work-life balance is difficult. I mean, traditionally, men, their focus, they had it all in the sense they had a family and they had a career, but they weren't really necessarily involved fathers. Their focus and their priority was work. Mm-hmm. Well, now that that's evolving and changing for men, they're starting to feel difficulty. For women, when they took on the idea of being able to have a career, they never sort of gave up the idea of also being an involved mother. And so that's where the clash happened, when they're trying to do both. And now as men are trying to do both, it's also an issue. And so it's an issue in terms of the expectations of work and the expectations of parenthood. So it's bigger, it's not just about women, it's about families, it's about children, it's about fathers.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of men's rights, I suppose, do you think that when it's less stigmatized for men to take paternity leave, how do you think that's going to influence this whole atmosphere situation?
I think it's going to have a huge impact. I think that if as men start to feel more stress, I think the idea that it's a women's issue will sort of hopefully devolve, and it will become a human rights issue. And so it'll be something worthy of discussion and worthy of addressing in the workforce, in social policy. I think because it was always a women's issue, it be sort of ghettoized, and it was like, oh well, it's just women complaining kind of thing. Now that men are they're thinking, okay, wait a minute, this is really about trying to have a life and trying to have a career. So I think it'll be a huge difference. And I think that one thing that I think women can do, the one thing that they could do that would make a huge difference is to insist and allow their partners to take some of the parental leave. I think that one act can have huge long-term implications for fathers, mothers, children, everybody. Because if men take some of that parental leave, if they're actually left at home alone with an infant, knowing and they get through that, because we all do. I mean, women don't know any more than men when they have a child, when they have a baby. We're all sort of quite ignorant and scared to death. But if men are given that opportunity, it affects their relationship to their children for life. They bond with it in a way that they wouldn't necessarily if they were not left alone with their infant. So I think that's one thing that women can do and men can do, is actually take parental leave, for sure. Yeah.
And what was it like for you working with your husband on this film, as he was the DP?
Yeah. My husband and I have worked together before, and like any working relationship, it's especially working with your partner, it's a blessing and a curse at times. We always work well together. We respect each other's creative juices, but we're also very strong characters. So sometimes when you have conflicts, you can't go home and complain to your partner about whatever. So, but it's also a blessing because you know that you're getting the best out of each other and you're creating something together. So in a sense, it's a good thing. But it's sometimes hard. Yeah. Yeah.
And you have a beautiful little daughter. How do you think that she will respond to the film when she's older? How do you hope that it'll influence her?
That's a good question. I don't know. We'll see in 10 years. She's already in the film a little bit where she sort of plays a kid. She plays herself, really. It's just a visual, and she's seen herself. But I don't know. We'll see in 10 years. I'll show it to her and see what she thinks. Hopefully it won't. Maybe things will change a bit by then,
And you have your wonderful producer, Bob, sitting over here. How did the two of you two meet and start working together?
It's funny. I think Bob and I we met each other socially over years, and we'd always sort of like have a drink together at a Christmas party or doc Christmas party. And then when I started discussions with CBC on this documentary, I'd not worked with CBC before. And I knew that it's sort of hard place to break into if they don't know you. And so as I was talking to CBC about the project, I knew that Bob had just left CBC. And I called him up and said, would you consider executive producing? Because I knew that I wanted someone on my team that could help me as an executive producer, because I wasn't an experienced director. I'm an experienced producer, but it's only my second directing. And I also knew that CBC would feel more comfortable have someone that they knew and trusted to make sure I didn't screw up completely. So I called him up and said, would you do it? And he read the treatment. He said yeah. So I was very lucky to have him on board. Yeah.
And where's the best place for us to check out the documentary and find out more information on it online?
cbc.ca/doczone/motherload, I think is how, I'm sure it's, just Google it. The Motherload on CBC. It's on Thursday, January 9th at 9 p.m. And then you can watch it. It streams on the CBC website after the broadcast.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on an inspiring and informative film, and best of luck with your upcoming projects as well.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you.
I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for Katie Chats in downtown Toronto.